Welcome back to Tea with a Taurus. I'm really glad you're here. Today's episode started with a simple conversation over a good meal. Last weekend, I went out to an early dinner with my family to celebrate a few birthdays and just to get together and spend time together. You know, the kind where it's loud tables, bigger plates, and lots of catching up. At some point, my cousin and I started talking about our goals and the things that we're wanting to do. And I mentioned that I'm slowly getting back into recording the podcast and posting more consistently. And then I admitted something that I think a lot of us can relate to. I have so many ideas, the files on my computer full of notes and episode outlines and half-written thoughts and journals, things that I genuinely care about, and yet they're just there. I haven't posted them. And he looked at me and he said, "What are you waiting for? Just get it out there. Just do it." But then he laughed and he immediately followed it up with, "I'm the same way." And we ended up having a really honest conversation about procrastinating, about how we both put things off, even things that we know would be good for us. After that dinner, I couldn't stop thinking about it because the more I sat with it, the more I realized something really important. It's not always procrastination. Sometimes it's task paralysis. And once I started looking at it through that lens, a lot of things started to make sense. Here's the thing. When we hear the word procrastination, it often comes with judgment. It sounds like laziness, avoidance, or just a lack of discipline. But task paralysis is different. Task paralysis is when you want to do something. You know what needs to be done. You might even feel excited about it. But your brain, it just won't move. You feel frozen, overwhelmed, or just stuck in your head. And for a lot of people, especially those of us with ADHD, this isn't a character flaw. It's a nervous system response. So when there are too many steps, too many ideas, too many expectations, our brains just shut down instead of powering up. It's not, I don't care. It's, I care so much that I don't know where to start. So I started asking myself some really hard questions. Why do I put off things that I know will benefit me? Why do I delay projects that I actually enjoy? And why do I avoid things that literally would put money in my pocket? And the answers, they weren't what I expected. A lot of it came down to simple overwhelm. When everything feels important, nothing feels doable. Sometimes it's perfectionism, that quiet voice that says, if I can't do it right, I shouldn't do it at all. Sometimes it's fear, not always loud fear, but subtle fear. Fear of failing, fear of succeeding, fear of being seen, because starting means something changes. And even good change can feel scary. Then there's the ADHD. ADHD brains do not respond well to distant rewards. Like this will help you later doesn't always move the needle. Our brains, they want interest, urgency, dopamine. So when a task feels boring or heavy or just unclear, it gets pushed aside. Even if it's important. And it's not laziness. That's how we're wired. So if this resonates with you, anyone out there, I want you to hear me. You're not broken. You're not behind, and you're not failing at life. You might just need a different approach. So instead of trying to power through task paralysis, what if we worked with our brains instead of against them? One thing that helps is making tasks smaller, like smaller than small. So instead of like recording the podcast, I might tell myself to just open the file or plug in the mic or just come up with a title. Like these tiny steps, they count. Another thing is removing decision fatigue. The more choices that we have, the harder it is to start. So templates and routines and systems that aren't boring, they can be free. Time limits can also be gentler than to-do lists. So instead of saying, I have to finish this, I could say, I'll work for 10 minutes on this because 10 minutes is approachable. And then once you get started, or once I get started, a lot of times the momentum will follow through. External motivation can also help. Body doubling, accountability text, saying your plan out loud. Sometimes our brains need someone else nearby, even if they're virtually, to feel safe enough to begin. And maybe the most important part is compassion. Talking to yourself like you would talk to a friend. Not, why can't I just do this? But what's making this feel hard right now? Because that shift matters. You know, that dinner conversation, it reminded me of something really important. We are all carrying invisible barriers. And telling ourselves to just do it ignores the reality of what's actually going on inside of our minds and our bodies. So if you've been waiting or stuck, circling the same ideas over and over, maybe the question isn't, why haven't I started? But what do I need to feel safe enough to begin? Progress doesn't need to be out loud. It doesn't have to be out loud. Action doesn't have to be perfect. And starting small, it still counts. So pour yourself some tea, take a breath, and choose one tiny step forward today that's more than enough. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to pause together. Let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw, and take a slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for just a second and let it out through your mouth. I want you to bring your attention to where you are right now. Notice one thing you can see. Maybe the light in your room, a plant, your tea. Notice one thing you can feel. Your feet on the floor, your body in your chair, the warmth of the mug in your hands. And notice one thing you can hear, a sound in the room, or even just my voice. You don't need to change anything, just notice. Now gently bring your mind to one thing you've been putting off. Just one. Not to judge it, not to pressure yourself, Just notice it. And ask yourself gently, quietly, what is the smallest possible step I could take today? Not perfectly, just the smallest step. Maybe it's just opening the document. Maybe it's writing a note. Maybe it's resting, because rest is productive too. Take one more slow breath in and let it go. When you're ready, carry that gentleness with you into the rest of your day. You don't have to do everything. You just have to start where you are. Remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to move fast, and you don't have to do it all at once. Growth can be slow. Healing can be quiet, and it still counts. So take a sip of your tea, take a breath, and meet yourself where you are today. Until next time, this is Team Taurus, reminding you that steady is still strong.